You wouldn't believe it unless you saw it with your own eyes. The kind of thing that sounds like clickbait or some wild car forum legend, but it happened. A beat-up, growling Lamborghini. And what happened next flipped every assumption on its head, because that pile of scrap metal, mismatched panels and all, didn't just give the Lambo a good run at one. And not by luck, not by trickery. It won with sheer, unexpected, turbocharged power that made everyone watching question everything they thought they knew about what makes a car truly fast. This story doesn't start in a performance shop or a racing garage. It starts in a muddy, overgrown corner of a junkyard in Ohio, where a guy named Marcus, a mechanic with a love for lost cars, he spotted the carcass of a 1994 Volvo 940 Turbo. It was ugly. One side mirror was gone, the interior smelled like wet dog, and the rear axle was practically fused in rust. But what caught Marcus's eye wasn't the condition, it was the engine bay. The stock turbo was still there, intact, barely touched. He knew what that meant. He wasn't looking at junk, he was looking at potential. With just $500 and a handshake, the Volvo was his. And the plan, build a sleeper. The kind of car that people laugh at in traffic until it smokes them off the line. Marcus didn't have a massive budget or a team of fabricators. What he did have was a garage, time, and a deep understanding of how to squeeze every ounce of performance out of old-school turbo systems. Over the next 6 months, he turned that boxy Swedish relic into a straight-line monster. First came the heart transplant. Not a full swap. Marcus believed in building with what you have, but the internals had to go. He pulled the engine, reinforced the pistons and rods, added an upgraded Garrett turbocharger, installed a custom intercooler setup, and completely rewired the fuel and ignition systems. It was a Frankenstein of parts, some from eBay, some from Craigslist, some straight from the junkyard, but it all came together in a way that made the old Volvo howl like a banshee. With a custom ACU tune and a generous helping of he was now pushing north of 550 horsepower to the rear wheels, in a car that originally made barely 160. But Marcus wasn't done. He stripped the interior. Out came the seats, the carpet, the sound deadening, the air conditioning. Everything non-essential was gone. The dash was replaced with a cheap digital readout panel. He installed a racing seat and harness, welded in a basic roll cage, and swapped the suspension for a lowered coilover setup that, while rough on the road, kept the car planted when launching hard. The tires, nothing fancy, just a set of sticky drag radials on mismatched wheels that barely cleared the rusted fenders. The total build cost, fast forward to a local drag event just outside Columbus. Nothing fancy, just a crowd of weekend racers, a strip, and a sunset. Marcus rolled up late, the Volvo rattling and wheezing like it was going to stall in the parking lot. Guys were polishing chrome, revving tuned V8 South, showing off nitrous systems and freshly painted liveries. Marcus didn't even open his hood. He didn't have to. Nobody took him seriously. That changed when the owner of a Lamborghini, a stunning machine in neon green with black carbon fiber trim, called Marcus out. At first, it was just a joke. A "Hey grandpa, want a race?" kinda jab. But Marcus smiled, buckled in, and said sure. Crowd gathered, phones out. Everyone knew how this was going to end. A 600 horsepower, a WD Italian supercar against a rust bucket Volvo. No contest, or so they thought. The lights came down, engines roared. The Lambo barked like a monster waking up. The Volvo wheezed, spooled, and then launched like a missile, off the line. Marcus's rear-wheel sleeper hooked harder than anyone expected. Torque surged, tires gripped, the turbo sang, and before the Lambo could even hit second gear, the Volvo had a full car-length lead. The crowd gasped. Some thought the Lambo must have spun out or bogged down, but the video footage shows it clear. The Volvo just launched cleaner, and as both cars barreled down the strip, the boxy sleeper stayed ahead. Not by much, but enough. Half a car length across the finish line. Cheers erupted. People were stunned. The guy in the Lambo was gracious. but clearly shook. "What the hell is in that thing?" he asked. Marcus just smiled and said, "Swedish revenge." After that, the video went viral. TikTok, YouTube, Reddit, every car channel started dissecting the footage. Is this real? How did it win? What's under the hood? And slowly, the myth of Marcus's $500 junkyard Volvo turned into a legend, not just because it beat a Lamborghini, but because it proved something deeper. In a world obsessed with looks, polish, and brand names, raw passion and creativity can still win. Sometimes, the underdog doesn't just compete, it dominates. But Marcus didn't stop there. With the newfound attention, he upgraded again, this time with a bigger turbo, better engine, and even managed to hook up a two-step launch system. The car now puts out 670 wheel horsepower, weighs less than 2,800 pounds, and looks worse than ever. And that's exactly how he wants it, because every time someone laughs, he knows what's coming. And every time that turbo spools and the boost hits, the only thing they see is tail. Marcus has since raced a variety of Challenger Chargers, even a modded R8, and while he doesn't win every time, he wins often enough to keep the myth alive. But the Volvo, for all its dents and scratches, isn't just a car anymore. It's a statement. That horsepower doesn't care what badge is on your grill. That money doesn't always beat ingenuity. And that sometimes, the most dangerous thing on the road looks like it belongs in a scrapyard.